It's interesting in life that sometimes we're faced with a challenge we just don't feel equipped to handle, and then by the time we come out the other side, we have found an unexpected solution or an answer. Joining us this evening is just such a person, the mother of an autistic child. Welcome, Teresa Scaini.
Thank you for having me.
Now, when I was a child, I never remember hearing the word autism. Today, it is pretty common. What's going on?
So it's a large spectrum, and it seems to be almost like a soup where everybody goes into the soup, and it's called a certain label. And the spectrum seems to be expanding to include everything else. Learning challenges, what else? Learning challenges, ADHD. There's more being added to it.
I think people at a certain point didn't understand that it was a spectrum. They just sort of thought, oh, autistic, and that represented a certain profile, and that's not necessarily the case. Do you think cases have increased, or we're just, as you say, throwing everything into the soup?
I believe there are true cases of autism, and I believe also that there's so many children who they really don't fit what I call a cookie cutter mold, and they're also being placed under that spectrum as well.
Tell us your story.
So my story started, I'd say it's almost 7 years now. I thought I had won the lottery. I had a daughter and a son, and when he went to preschool, he was very anxious, and I mean extremely anxious. So you think it's just a normal thing that they're going through. And then I started hearing the word autism and parallel play, and there was so many different things. And then we started the journey of therapy, which was about, when we started doing many different things, speech therapy, occupational therapy. And at the time, it led me to over $75,000 of debt until I started getting my own credentials and my own designations.
Well, this is interesting. So you became more than an advocate. You became, part of the solution. But we hear from so many parents that they didn't find the support they needed financially or otherwise, because so much of this stuff isn't covered, ages out, whatever it is. But what was the aha moment that made you decide, this is what I've got to do, this is the path I've got to take?
When my own child said to me, I can't take this anymore, they're making me do things over and over again. And I realized it was more than that. It's not what it's called. And I was fighting the label. So when I decided to surrender and look for techniques and tools, that's when the magic started to happen.
Before we get to the techniques and tools, did you find any support? Did you find groups where you could go and talk to other parents or anything?
I did find some groups. However, I was very much results oriented. I wasn't ready to cry in my story. I needed results. And that's where I started moving forward. And it's hard to find the right tools. It's just very black and gray, and the spectrum's growing. So it was very frustrating at that time.
So what did you do next and why?
So we continued with therapy. And then at one point I had met a fertility specialist. She's actually my sister's good friend. And she had said to me, have you heard of neurolinguistics? And I kind of rolled my eyes at the time. We were so deep in the therapy. And I went for myself just to check it out. And then I realized there's some incredible things here. And I took the training, and the journey was not only for him, it was all about me.
Tell us what that is.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about neurolinguistics.
So it's neurolinguistic programming, which is how you communicate. We all have a language we use when we're communicating, and also where we retrieve our information. So children who have learning challenges like dyslexia or retaining information, they retrieve information down and they need to retrieve it up with their eyes. So just changing that with my own child changed how he was speaking. And then there was other techniques to keep him calm and to work with the unconscious mind.
Really? What techniques?
Hypnosis is one of them. So the guided meditation of getting him calm in his body. A lot of children who have learning challenges or who have been labeled under the spectrum are not in their body. It's almost like they're detached. So I taught him, get into your body, start to feel, see, and hear things around you. And that changed as well for him, how he reacted to things.
It's interesting. I think I did this with my children who are not on the spectrum, but it was one of them had a learning difficulty. And we went through a similar program where he basically asked her questions, like, what was your first bicycle, and watched where her eyes went. Mm-hmm. And if they went up to the left or up to the right, it meant a different thing. And we just changed the positioning of where she sat in the classroom. Yes. And it made a difference because that was the way she was accessing her brain. Is that right?
It's absolutely true. So when he started to look up to retrieve information, the sequence of how he was speaking flowed easily and effortlessly. He was able to access and work with his unconscious mind. And it really, that's what we want for our children, regardless whether they have a label or they don't have a label. It's to really teach them to work with their unconscious mind.
So for any of our listeners out there who may be parents, who may be siblings, who may be grandparents, what were the results?
The results went from a child who was really stressed, high in anxiety, who was not able to communicate how he was feeling, to a child who's now in his body, relaxed, handling all situations, and knowing what to do when he starts to feel like it's too much, and to really get connected within. And he's flourished. He's not the same child he was.
Does he have a great social life? Is he involved in sports or hobbies or?
So he plays baseball. He is very in tune with his higher self. He is got a great sense of humor. He's a comedian. And so he's been able to really flourish with his skills that he has and be happy about it, which is great.
So you are sharing this with other parents?
Yes. The journey of grief, no matter what the label is or how difficult it is, when you're stuck in it, it's not a great place to be. You can't see possibilities. And there are possibilities. There is a better tomorrow. There are skills and techniques out there.
So how do people access what you have learned, the information that you're sharing?
So they can Google neurolinguistics. I have created and designed guided meditation for children. I'm calling it the school series, and it's expanding. So one is just the journey of going to school, the transitions, social communication with how to attract great friends and be at ease and be happy, anxiety, writing tests. How many children today get anxious and all upset just going in to write a test, and they've created this whole scenario of failure before they've even started, and bullying. So it's a series that started. I have 5 that are launching at the end of the month, and it's going to grow.
So how do parents access this?
It's on my website, which is anchoryoursuccess.com, and it'll go out on Amazon shortly as well.
So has this become your life mission?
It never started as that.
No, I know.
Yes.
But life throws us things and we just kind of go with it, right?
My investment is my own child. And now that I've seen that he was called a certain label and no longer fits that label anymore, and that he's grown and prosperous in all areas of his life, I'd love to share that with other parents. When you're stuck in grieving, there is a possibility to come out, and there are things you can do to work with your child every day.
Well, you represent hope for many, many parents.
I'm here to say that it's okay, and put your best foot forward. It'll get better.
So is he now not diagnosed as autistic?
He doesn't have the traits of it, and we'll definitely be looking at another diagnosis down the way. So that's why I was saying with the spectrum, it's so broad that they've included, I call it a minestrone soup. They've included everyone in it at this point. So I focused on possibilities of improvement and not what the label is.
So it's anchoryoursuccess.com.
Yes.
All right, Teresa Scaini, thank you very much for coming in and sharing your expertise, because that's definitely what you are.
Thank you so much for having me.